I'm Christy. Today I want to talk to you about COVID vaccines. So I've been thinking a lot about the vaccines for COVID-19 over the past few weeks, and I find myself trying to figure out how to balance all of my thoughts. So this week, I thought I'd put some of those thoughts down on paper for you, or maybe it's just to have a record for myself. Let me start by saying that whether or not you vaccinate is completely a choice and decision that each family must make for themselves and for each individual member of their family. Some will decide it's not worth the risk to them. Others have probably already vaccinated at their first opportunity. Now, I'm not here to start a debate. And honestly, I have no plans or desire to get into any kind of arguments or debates in the comments or responses. If things become heated, I'm probably going to turn off comments on this post and video. However, if you'd like to post a neutral or positive comment, I would love to hear your thoughts. So since talks of the vaccines began, I've run the gamut on whether or not I think we should vaccinate our family. Over the years, we've vaccinated our boys. There's one series we elected not to do, but it was more of a choice and not required for any school or organization. We don't do flu shots annually since we don't typically get the flu. Other than that, we vaccinate. Again, personal choice. But when the talk of a COVID vaccine started, I found myself hesitant. It feels rushed to me. Vaccines don't typically go through the entire process in a year or less. This one did. Okay, I know it's an incredibly unique situation, and it's globally critical for everyone's health. But the fact remains, we don't know the long-term effects these vaccines may have, and that makes me nervous. On the other end of the spectrum, my husband keeps talking about herd immunity and how important it is to stopping this nastiness in its tracks. Now, I definitely like the idea of that. And somewhere in the middle, I find myself wanting my family to be safe as they return to some form of normal life. My husband needs to travel for work. Sean will be heading off to college in the fall. And AJ works with people who are, or at least potentially, are medically fragile. All reasons to vaccinate. So where does that leave me? Still in a quandary. Now, I'd never heard of herd immunity until my husband mentioned it to me a month or two ago. So I decided to look it up. Here's a few things I discovered. Quote, herd immunity refers to the protection from an infectious disease that occurs when a significant proportion of the population can no longer acquire or transmit infection, either through vaccination or immunity resulting from previous infection, end quote. I've got a link to where I got that quote from over on the blog. You can find that at www.havenofhopeforme.com. This originally posted at the end of March of 2021. Now, another article that I've got quoted puts it this way. Quote, herd immunity, also known as population immunity, is the indirect protection from an infectious disease that happens when a population is immune, either through vaccination or immunity developed through previous infection, end quote. Now, what percentage of the population needs to be immune varies with each disease. What percentage that is for COVID-19 is still unknown. Now, others believe that herd immunity isn't possible for COVID-19. I thought that was interesting too. I've got a link to an article on that over on the blog. So where does this leave us? That's a great question. And I'm still not sure I'm confident answering it. But here's a few thoughts I had. This is one of those areas that no one else can really advise you on. It's something you'll have to decide for yourself. Lots of discussions among family members. Research it for yourself. Ask questions. And then make the most informed decision that you believe is right for you and for your family. Be careful how you respond to the choices that others make. They may come to the same decision you do, just by a very different path. Or they may totally disagree with you. Remember, it's their choice. Realize that returning to normal isn't likely to happen as quickly as we want it to. And the normal that we return to is probably still going to look very different than it did in February of 2020. Now, while this is kind of hard to accept, the quicker that we accept and adapt to that, the more smoothly our lives will flow. So that leads me to my question for this week. Have you decided to vaccinate your family? Was it a difficult decision for you? I'd love to hear your thoughts or your thought process. You can leave me a comment below, or you can leave me a comment over on the blog. Again, that's at www.havenofhopeforme.com. This is from the end of March of 2021. I'm grateful for the light at the end of the tunnel, I'm hoping, so that I can continue to say that life is good and there is never a dull moment.